Hello everyone. Today, a very interesting story awaits you. And before it starts, I would like to ask you to like this video and subscribe to the channel. The story begins with a gathering of heavenly beings judging one boy. His actions were recognized as bad, shameful for the society of cultivators. The Celestials try to assure the young man that he has no way out. But if he agrees to give the sacred book of transformations, he will have a chance for forgiveness. The boy's name is Chazan Chintian. He fell into the trap of the cultivators, and as a result, he was now here in front of them. The accused confidently said that he was responsible for many deaths, but he had never harmed the innocent. Chazan Chintian showed his disdain for the cultivators, who he believed to be afraid of him due to his masterful cultivation, thus calling him a demon. One of the Celestials uttered a threat, telling of the suffering that would follow the boy if he did not hand over the sacred book of transfiguration. Parubok theatrically apologized for not being able to do this, because he is actually one whole with these valuable writings. The cultivators must have gotten tired of trying to persuade the defendant, so they started talking about killing him now. The Celestials knew that they needed to attack collectively because Chazan Chintian was capable of many things, including deflecting attacks in various ways. Parubok understood that he had few options to get out of the situation. But I did find one way out. Proudly demonstrating his demon nature, he declared that he would use the sacred book of transformations. Chazan Chintian used some magical technique, and all the attackers flew in different directions with great force. Some cultivators realized that the young man had used the demonic concussion technique and urged others to try to run away from its effect. The boy was laughing madly, knowing that no one had a chance to escape. This technique kills everyone, and those who came under its influence and the one who applied it. The victims of the attack asked not to be so ruthless and to stop what the boy had created. Someone else believed that he could be killed and the magic stopped. The Celestials flew away so far that Chazan Chintian could only see black specks in the sky. Their screams stopped. Suddenly, the young man found himself on a large ship in the open ocean, although he was sure that he would die. After a few seconds of stupor, Chazan Chintian realized that he had undergone a rebirth. The boy had a long path that led him to the top of immortality. It took 500 years. He managed to become a great warrior. Parubka was feared, bowed at his feet in order to win his favor. The heavenly cultivators were not satisfied with this, so they united and with some effort lured Chazan Chintian into a trap. The boy came to the conclusion that thanks to his rebirth, he would one day be able to become much stronger than he was before. When Chazan Chintian reaches the right level of power, he plans to return to heaven and take revenge. He remembered a girl named Royun that he cared about. She remained in the palace of the Celestials. Chazan Chintian promises himself to return to her. The boy was pulled out of his thoughts by a man calling him with displeasure in his voice. He scolded the reborn for idleness. Chazan Chintian recalled the time when he was 20 years old and he first went to a cruise party organized by Hu Tianhua. It turns out that the guy ended up on it. He was reborn into his earthly past, where he was called Chazan Nuam. Hu Tianhua is a cruel person who stole Chazan Chintian's girl and forced him to take a debt of several million. Because of this, the young man's father had to sell his property and beg everyone he knew for help. Soon, the old man found out that he was seriously ill. But there was absolutely no money for treatment. Tired and unhealthy, the man died in an empty old house in the cold winter from a draft. Hu Tianhua and his men forced the young man to work hard in the mine without days off. In a few years, he managed to escape from there and find out why his father died. He sat on his knees near the grave and wept bitterly. After that, he had no desire to continue living. While working on a cruise ship, he jumped into the water and drowned. But the universe had plans for Chazan Chintian, so he did not cease to exist after suicide, but ended up on an ancient continent where celestial beings live. Parubok got a new chance, which he successfully used and became an extremely strong demon after countless victories over cultivators. The man approached Chazan Chintian, expressing great displeasure that he did not respond to his words. After living next to Celestials, the boy was absolutely not afraid of life's problems, so he was not going to follow orders, moreover, given in a rude tone. He was about to face his worst offender. The malicious man said that there was nothing strange in the betrayal of the young man's girlfriend to hurt his feelings. He noted mentally that Chazan Yurai was not as usual, The guy was on his way to a luxurious party for wealthy clients of a cruise ship. He stood out in his simple, everyday clothes among the luxuriously dressed guests. So Chazan Chintian noticed his beloved Chazan Xiaoran dancing sweetly with his bitter enemy and drinking some kind of drink with him. The girl was once his classmate. After 2 years of study, the young man sincerely fell in love with her and tried in every way to win her favor, working for this at various jobs and saving money. But as a result, Chazan Xiaoran left him, because the more promising Hu Tianhua began courting her. The old man approached the newly formed couple. Chazan Xiaoran greeted him with a happy, at least outwardly, smile. Hu Tianhua indignantly announced that he was taking this girl for himself because Chazan Chintian was not worthy of her. He pointed in every way to the status of the boy, whom he should be ashamed of, poking him with his finger. The witnesses to this blatant abuse were completely on Hu Tianhua's side and congratulated him on getting the girl he wanted. Chazan Chintian lived for many years. His experience allows him to remain calm in such a situation and not be provoked. Hu Tianhua was expecting a reaction, but there was none. No tension could be seen on the young man's face. Chazan Chintian said that he was giving the blonde one last chance to reconsider his attitude and apologize. He promised to keep their relationship normal. People around began to laugh at the boy's unexpected courage. The conversations and offensive jokes continued, fueled with renewed vigor. Party guests felt complete freedom of speech. Chazan Chintian was approached by the man who called him immediately after his rebirth. He started yelling at the boy for disrespecting Hu Tianhua. Harsh insults were uttered, but there was no emotional reaction. The man got tired of looking at the calm face and swung his hand to hit him. But the young man did not allow her to achieve her goal. He managed to overtake his offender and strike first. The boy used only his hand for this and did not put much effort into it, but the man flew away gracefully. Several teeth fell out of the mouth, accompanied by splashes of blood. A bright red mark remained on the cheek. The man hit the floor with great force. Nearby tables swayed with what was on them. Chazan Chintian felt his power. His hands radiated lightning power, which he proudly displayed. The guests of the party were deeply impressed by this turn of events. The guy's ex-girlfriend hastened to shame him for the blow. There was dissonance in Chazan Xiaoran's soul. She expected Chazan Nawand to be morally destroyed and end his life rather than enter the fray. The young man spoke to her. He expressed hope that the girl had made the right choice for herself and would not later fall at his feet and ask for forgiveness. He remembered the feelings he once had for Chazan Xiaoran. But now there is not a trace left. He was reborn as an immortal and plans to play with the life of his ex. An angry Hu Tianhua intervened, spewing new insults. He ordered the young man to kneel down and beg for forgiveness for such impudence. The girl supported her new boyfriend, calling the former a terrible ruffian. Li Lili, her best friend, also appeared nearby, speaking words of condemnation. She didn't understand how Chazan Xiaoran could date Chazan Chintian for so long, considering how pathetic he was. Another girl interjected her opinion, saying that even Li Lili's boyfriend is better than this dishonorable lad. She condemned his clothes, the price of which resonated strongly with the glamorous attire of most of the party guests. Another girl, An Yunuo, dressed in what looked like a school uniform, expressed a different opinion. She said that Chazan Chintian hardly intended to offend anyone because he was primarily just defending himself. She was his former classmate. She always treated him well and supported him. She must have been in love. The boy regretted that at one time he chose Chazan Xiaoran instead of her.
Hu Tianhua repeated the same threats, trying to force the young man to tearfully beg for forgiveness.
Headmaster Ma Bullion should have made reasonable arguments, but he fully supported the dishonorable blonde and wanted to crush Chazan Chintian's indifference with his status as a teacher. Chazan Xiaoran reflected on the fact that it is the rich who have power and recognition, so her ex-boyfriend does not have the opportunity to defend himself and his dignity, only to hear ridicule directed at him. Chazan Chintian said that no one would hear his apology. But he can arrange such a thing that Hu Tianhua will feel the terrible wrath of heaven. It didn't scare the blonde, it just made him laugh. He poked his finger at the boy again, uttering insults. Chezhen Qintian made a few imperceptible movements with his fingers that sparkled with golden magic. As a result, the body of the offending young man was covered by lightning with great force, which made him scream and feel a burning pain. His luxurious clothes caught fire, and the boy himself almost fell, but two men picked him up from the very floor. Chezhen Qintian decided that the punishment wasn't strong enough, so he fired several more blasts of magic that shook Hu Tianhua for a few seconds. The victim lost consciousness. Foam came from his mouth. People were confused. They were going to send the boy to the hospital. Ma Bullion ordered a man to convey to the captain of the ship an urgent request to sail to the shore. The victim was on someone's back. A group of people took him somewhere, probably to the medical aid department. Chezhen Qintian, who had been successfully forgotten by most, was approached by An Yunuo to warn her against Hu Tianhua, who usually takes cruel revenge on those who dare to argue with him. The girl added that this dangerous guy has a lot of connections with influential people who can greatly spoil someone's life. Chezhen Qintian briefly thanked her for her concern, although he was unlikely to take advantage of her advice, and left somewhere. The boy was driving in a car and realized with regret that he had lost most of his powers after being reborn. His body still contained this demonic energy, but the amount of it was nothing compared to what it was before. In a past life, Chezhen Qintian acquired this power thanks to the mountain range of the Burial of Heaven, where it was found. The old man drove to the country cemetery. It looked gloomy, but it was filled with a mysterious atmosphere. Chezhen Qintian gave the money to the taxi driver, who advised him not to visit this place, arguing vaguely that it was dangerous. The man offered to take the boy away from here because of the late hour of the day, there is a chance that he will not have the opportunity to get home by taxi. But Chezhen Qintian said that there was no need for that, as he would be able to take care of himself. The taxi driver took the refusal as the reluctance of the youth to listen to the elders. If he had known that the young client intended to visit the cemetery, he would have refused to take him. The man was so worried because accidents often happen there, consistently once a month. But this is the boy's decision, which the taxi driver will not influence. So he hastened to get away from the cemetery. Chezhen Qintian plans to use his inner energy to become a demon. That's what he was called, and now he really will become that. To do this, you need to activate the demonic key as much as possible. Rage can help in this situation. It can manifest itself in different emotions: offense, anxiety, or anger. The main thing was that Chezhen Qintian knew how to feel it. It was precisely in order to satiate his rage that the young man came to this country cemetery. He was abandoned and concentrated real evil in himself. It all started with the fact that a large-scale battle once took place in this place, as a result of which many people died. To activate the demonic, this guy needed the souls of innocents. He didn't know how many were buried here, but he was pretty sure he should have enough. After walking a little through the cemetery, Chezhen Qintian saw a spiral of smoke, in the center of which were two souls, a man and a woman. The old man understood what it was. A magical circle of wandering souls formed to take the lives of others to increase their own power. The man lying on the ground reached out to Chezhen Qintian and asked for help. Parubok had not been among people for a long time and did not know that you could meet soul cultivators here. He understood that this was not the only such case. Otherwise, he would not have come across the place of the ritual so quickly. Chezhen Qintian felt that the Earth's spiritual power was weak, which it shouldn't be if there were soul-collecting cultivators on it. An old man approached the magic circle of wandering souls, grinning mischievously at the barely alive man and telling him that he might not even try to save himself, because it wouldn't help him. A cultivator noticed the boy and asked who he was. Meanwhile, the girl gathered the strength to ask for help as well. Chezhen Qintian said that he happened to witness the ritual, but he asks not to focus on his person because he will not stay here. The old man loudly ordered the man to stop. He couldn't just let him go after what he saw. Chezhen Qintian was furious at being ordered around. He told the old man that he did not have the status to direct his actions. The cultivator called the boy insolent and said that he expected adequate treatment. But because of such impoliteness, the old man threatened to burn him and released blue-violet energy from his hands. The man on the ground warned that this fire was dangerous. If it touches the boy's skin, he will die instantly. A dangerous force was rapidly approaching Chezhen Qintian, but he just looked ahead and did not try to avoid colliding with it. The girl expressed sincere surprise to the man, who turned out to be her grandfather, that the boy was not moving. The old man looked mad. He laughed as he released new waves of magical fire to finish off the victim if the first dose of power failed. The cultivator's victims decided that the boy would surely die. They have lost hope for salvation because the old man is capable of killing anyone who tries to save them. Magical power surrounded the boy but did not harm him. He just ended up in the fire. Chizan Chintian was extremely pleased. The fire contained this pure energy that would help him activate his own lost powers. The young man made movements with his fingers that helped him take control of all the fire he was swimming in. When Chan Chintian was reborn after his first death, he was lucky enough to become the master of an unknown demonic power. He named it Xintian Technique in his honor. It was easy for him to improve his skills with it. The old man saw that the boy was using some magical techniques, but he was sure that it would not be able to save him. He said that his fire would not leave the man until he was left with only ashes. And any efforts to free yourself only accelerate the inevitable process. Chizan Chintian did not listen to him at all. He focused all his attention on activating his demonic qi. He managed to completely subdue the fire that the old man released from him. The boy demonstratively reduced it and held it above his hand, and then he destroyed this small remnant of great power. The old man could not believe his eyes. He spent so many years perfecting his fire to be able to destroy anyone. And some guy easily managed to defeat him. Chizan Chintian summoned behind him a huge monster with 3 heads and 6 arms with weapons. The old man was very frightened. An inner sense suggested that you should bow to this terrible creature. He fell to the ground, not daring to raise his head. His whole body trembled with fear. Chizan Chintian spoke that the old man should not have struck his blow because now he would die because of it. The man felt that his numbness and fear suddenly disappeared. Although a few seconds ago he was barely breathing due to anxiety. Taking advantage of this moment, he exploded and ran straight at the boy, shouting that he would not leave him alone. The old man had already prepared the fire with which he was going to strike. But Chizan Chintian also summoned his magic. The boy effortlessly delivered a blow that knocked the old man away, leaving him no chance to use his fire. Pink's powerful force lifted him into the air and slammed him gently into a tree growing nearby. The old man was once again on the ground and trying to recover from the damage done to his body. Clearing his throat a little, he declared that he could not be killed because he was the warden of Thundercloud Mountain. Ajahn Chintian said that he does not care about the status of an elder. It will not change his decision. The boy directed devastating energy at the opponent.
The blow went through his chest, leaving a round hole there. It became clear that the old man's life had come to an end.
A man and a girl, who almost became victims of the transfer of souls, called the boy who saved them. The man introduced himself as Huanfu Kanhaj and thanked him sincerely. He explained that the old man had tricked him, which is why they were in this situation. There was also an offer to provide a place to spend the night or to thank in some other way. Chan Chintian dryly replied that he did not need anything. The girl did not like the boy's reaction. She said that her grandfather should be spoken to more politely because he is an extremely influential man. An older relative asked the girl not to be rude, and she said that their family cannot leave their savior without a reward, otherwise they will remain in debt to him. The girl offered the boy to name his price. They have the opportunity to thank him well. Chizan Chintian said that they wouldn't be able to give him what he might want with a mocking smile. He remembered that he had once received an offer to take over the earth. The young man was so influential. The girl's words seemed funny to him against the background of that. Huanfu Kanhaj apologized to the boy for spoiling his granddaughter Yun Huanfu like that. The man took out a glowing green artifact from his jacket pocket and offered it as a gift for the rescue. The girl was shocked that her grandfather was going to give it away. She told him that the magic jade was too valuable a gift. Such a precious thing was able to interest the boy. He felt that the jade contained divine power. Chizan Chintian accepted the gift and said that he was completely satisfied with it, so their family did not owe him anything more. Yun Huanfu still could not come to terms with the fact that Grandpa had given away the magic jade. He could save the family if they ever went bankrupt. Huanfu Kanhaj asked how strong the granddaughter thought the man was who wanted to take their souls. The girl replied that he was extremely powerful, just a little short of the title of Grandmaster. Huanfu Kanhaj agreed with her opinion. But what is important is that the young man managed to defeat that man with ease, which indicates that the young man was even stronger. Much stronger. Yun Huanfu asked if Grandpa really thought that their savior had the highest level of martial skill. Huanfu Kanhaj replied that it was quite likely. He is almost certain that it is. The man said that masters of the highest level were almost impossible to find on Earth. They are too proud, so they do not communicate with people, except for the chosen ones. Huanfu Kanhaj asked the granddaughter what she thought about the magic jade gift now. The girl agreed that the guy who became such a strong master at such a young age deserves such a present. Chazan Chintian walked through the forest looking at his new thing. The magical stone contains the sacred power of the earth and sky, which can allow its owner to become more powerful. Parubik did not expect that he would meet such a valuable object on earth. He took it as great luck. Chazan Chintian positioned himself on a large boulder in order to absorb the energy of the magical artifact. He gripped the acid green stone tightly in his hand. His energy increased somewhat. The artifact disappeared, leaving only a disembodied green force. The young man thought that she could activate his divine powers. Soon, the boy's body was engulfed in a green glow, and then Chazan Chintian glowed blue-green. He concluded that the manipulation was successful. To test the new strength, the young man directed it at a medium-sized stone nearby. The target of the blow exploded, scattering into small stones and accompanied by a thick ball of energy. Chazan Chintian judged the result to be quite good, especially when compared to what he had done with Hu Tianhua on the cruise ship. This time, the blow is much more prominent. He is sure that this power will be more than enough to solve any problems with people. But to return to the Celestials and get revenge, he will need something much better. The new power also worked like lightning, which satisfied the boy, because it had no disadvantages for him. Moreover, the more you use it, the stronger it will become. Chazan Chintian saw an explosion of fire somewhere on a rock not far away. He wanted to know why it happened. There was a battle in the air between people in mechanical armor on jet engines. One of them hit the other hard, causing him to fall to the ground. The red-armored boy's name was Badge Fen, and the one he hit with fire was his younger sister named Lin Xiaoshuan. The girl could not escape from the control of her brother, who managed to catch up with her and stop her. She called him shameless. Lin Xiaoshuan pressed some kind of mechanism, and the purple armor began to gradually disappear, revealing the girl's appearance. Her brother flew up to her, but she yelled at him to stay away. Chazan Chintian recognized them as battle mechs. The boy did not know that they lived on Earth. Now he wondered if they had always been here, or if they had appeared because the world had changed since his recent rebirth. Badge Fen followed his sister and freed himself from his armor. He had a crazy smile on his face. He confidently told the girl that now he will not let her go and will force her to tell the necessary information. Lin Xiaoshuan noticed that a strange boy was watching their tense conversation. She instantly ran up to Chazan Chintian and began begging him to help her. The girl grabbed the young man's hands, expressing in such a way that she needed to be saved. Her brother slowly approached, saying that no one would help Lin Xiaoshuan. He pointed a finger at Chazan Chintian and called him weak by the looks of it. He said that he could defeat him even without combat equipment. Badge Fen laughed, making it clear that he intended to attack the boy who had not yet spoken a word to them. The sister called him and promised that she would not give him the opportunity to fulfill his wish. She asked Chazan Chintian to run away from here as soon as possible, because he would be seriously harmed now. Badge Fen was getting closer and closer. He said that the damage to the girl's armor would prevent him from using it again and flying away from here. The guy with the crazy smile was already very close and opened his arms to grab Lin Xiaoshuan. The girl found herself in extremely unpleasant contact with Badge Fen, who held her hand tightly and wanted to harm her. Lin Xiaoshuan was weak after the battles and persecutions, so she could only cry out a request to let her go, but she couldn't break out. The attacker remembered the arrogant and cold behavior of the girl, which always annoyed him. He seeks to intimidate her so that she will never refuse his wishes again. Chazan Chintian approached them and briefly, but loudly and confidently, ordered the aggressive boy to stand up. Badge Fen temporarily shifted the focus of his attention from Lin Xiaoshuan to the young man and shouted for him to repeat his words. Despite the warlike tone of the interlocutor, Chazan Chintian very calmly stated that he had better run away, so as not to regret what would happen next. Baj Fen obviously had a serious status because he was surprised that the stranger did not know him. He prepared to attack the strange boy who had interfered in his affairs. Chazan Chintian reacted well. He managed to grab the hand of the aggressive attacker. Baj Fen rubbed the place where someone else's fist had landed. He already looked less brave and strong, but tried to prove with words that his power was much greater. Chazan Chintian grabbed the opponent's limb with both hands and flipped him over. The boy fell painfully on the hard ground and drove through it, raising a pile of dust near him. Chazan Chintian scathingly invited him to finally demonstrate the incredible skills he had been flaunting. Baj Fen angrily told his opponent that he was going to be very sick now. He began aggressively tapping his sensor watch. A mechanism kicked in that restored the boy's menacing red armor, which really made him look much more dangerous. Baj Fen shouted that with the mech, he could crush anyone with just one finger, and now he will demonstrate how powerful his armor is. Lin Xiaoshuan warned her savior that this mech was made of super strong alloy and was considered one of the best, so it was best to just run away now. Baj Fen pointed a mechanical finger at the boy to prove his point. But Chazan Chintian grabbed him, preventing him from striking. And then he simply tore off part of the finger and crushed it into small pieces with little effort. Lin Xiaoshuan covered her mouth with her hand in surprise. The fingers were one of the strongest parts of the mechanism, but it turns out they are not unbreakable. Baj Fen aimed a fist, but Chazan Chintian blocked this attempt as well, grabbing the mechanism with his hand. The armored boy was furious that his attack had failed again. He released some kind of weapon from the central part of his body. Chazan Chintian used his favorite lightning power, which went from his hand to the opponent and knocked him down. Baj Fen managed to stay at least on his knees. What protruded from his armor turned out to be an explosive missile. She finally flew out and landed right next to Chazan Chintian's calm face. There was a large-scale explosion. Nothing was visible. Lin Xiaoshuan stood at a certain distance from the boys. She was not hit, but she could not tell if anyone had survived the impact of the mini-rocket. Baj Fen laughed, mocking the fact that the stranger wanted to save the girl, but did not save himself. Lin Xiaoshuan couldn't help but cry as her savior died because of her. Baj Fen could not rejoice in his victory and continued to praise himself. Until then, the voice of the opponent, who should have been dead in general, was heard from the smoke. The boy was shocked that the high-explosive bomb did not take his life. It seemed impossible. The young man, miraculously unharmed, did not explain anything but offered to demonstrate his personal bomb. Chazan Chintian fired divine power in the form of green lightning bolts at a point near the opponent to cause an explosion. And it really happened. Bright energy flew in all directions, taking with it fragments of powerful red armor. Baj Fen remained alive, although he did receive some injuries in the form of bruises. He sprawled on the ground until he could not get up and stand on his feet. Despite the deplorable situation, the boy continued to throw insulting phrases that no longer looked threatening. Chazan Chintian warned that he was giving his opponent a chance to think about his last words. Baj Fen laughed back. He was becoming more and more like a madman, not taking such confident words seriously. The obvious winner of the fight did not think of throwing around empty words, but was ready to physically prove his invincibility more than once, so he made another blow with green power. This weakened Baj Fen, but he continued to mock the enemy's actions. The beaten boy asked to show his courage and kill him. Chazan Chintian said that he could not refuse such a request and waved his hand as he planned the final blow. Suddenly, Baj Fen's crazy features disappeared and he said that he had changed his mind and should not spare his life. But it was too late for apologies or requests. Chazan Chintian made a fatal attack. After that, the boy wanted to calmly continue his journey as if nothing had happened. But he was stopped by Lin Xiaoshuan's voice. At first, the girl asked Chazan Chintian about his fighting skills, but he was confused and did not know what to answer. Then, Lin Xiaoshuan asked to take her out of the forest because it is scary to move without fur and hers is damaged. The old man didn't say anything to that, but the girl decided that he didn't mind so much, so she just started following him. Thanks to Lin Xiaoshuan's initiative, they learned each other's names, but Chezhan Qintian didn't seem interested in small talk. The girl then asked if the boy belonged to the Xinjiang Alliance, but he had not even heard of such an association of masters. Lin Xiaoshuan thought that the interlocutor would give an affirmative answer, but what he said really shocked her. Considering the young man's incredible strength, she assumed that he belonged to this alliance. Chezhan Qintian was interested in this topic, so he asked the companion to tell more about the organization she named. She said that the alliance includes practices that have significant influence in society. Members of the organization are divided into several levels. Information about the highest is hidden. People who belong to it consider themselves capable of managing all other practices. The girl added that it is usually very difficult to become a member of the alliance, but Chezhan Qintian has such abilities that he will be accepted immediately. However, it is worth knowing that this association is opposed by another organization, the Alliance of Aliens and Mechanisms. It includes psychics and fighting mechanisms. It was formed as a result of the combination of two organizations due to the rapid development of mechs, but it was preceded by a war between representatives of the alliances. Lin Xiaoshuan said that the psychics had also created a confrontation with the cultivators, causing them to suffer a lot. Chezhan Qintian hears about such a system of organizations for the first time, from which he concludes that the world has really changed. The girl revealed that the murdered boy was a member of the southern branch of the Alliance of Aliens and Mechanisms. She warned that no one should know about this because there would be big problems, because Baj Fen was an influential person. Lin Xiaoshuan advised the girl to leave the southern island altogether in order to protect herself as much as possible. Chezhan Qintian asked how powerful his potential enemies were and what was known about them. The girl said that there are people who are called super gifted. They became so thanks to special serums with a unique effect on the human body. The abilities acquired in this way, when combined with mechs, make the members of the alliance terrifyingly powerful. This is why they dominate cultivators, who improve their skills much more slowly. After listening to all the explanations, Chezhan Qintian promised himself to always do as his principles dictated, regardless of societal norms and customs, in order to reduce the level of injustice in the world. The guy took his companion to the city, where she should already feel much more comfortable. Therefore, he said that he would say goodbye to her at this place. The girl grabbed the young man's clothes to stop him and asked if she could stay with him for one night. She justified the request by the fact that she does not know her way around the city and her relatives should arrive only tomorrow. Chezhan Qintian said that he was living in a dormitory, and this fact surprisingly made Lin Xiaoshuan very happy. She began to ask the young man about his studies and asked him to give her a tour of the university. Chezhan Qintian was not that against. They used the bus, and in 20 minutes they were near the higher educational institution where the young man was studying. He mentally recalled all the events of his past earthly life that connected him with this university. A trio of students were sitting on a bench near the facility, shamelessly discussing Lin Xiaoshuan's appearance among themselves, regretting that she was not studying with them. The girl told her companion that she was very hungry, so she wanted to start the tour from a local restaurant. They happened to witness Chezhan Xiaoran's conversation with a friend. Chezhan Qintian learned that his enemy Hu Tianhua was in the hospital and would be there for a few more days. Li Lili convinced the interlocutor that her ex would try to harm the victim at the cruise party when he was discharged. She was saying something about the choice Chezhan Xiaoran had to make. But the interlocutor did not want to hear more about it, promising that she knew what to do. Lily urged her friend to cut off all ties with her ex-boyfriend. She had already taken everything she could from him, so it would have no meaning and no use. Lin Xiaoshuan brought her companion a chicken leg and asked him to taste it, promising great taste sensations. It was at this moment that Li Lili and Chezhan Xiaoran noticed their acquaintance and were shocked by what they saw. Chezhan Qintian refused to eat, but Lin Xiaoshuan did not give up. She came close to the boy and brought the chicken leg to his mouth, urging him to try it. Chezhan Xiaoran poked her index finger at the boy and asked loudly who it was next to him. And she also demanded some explanations. Chezhan Qintian rudely replied that it was absolutely none of her business, never wanting to indulge her ex-girlfriend's words again. Chizhan Xiaoran said that she could not possibly think that the young man belongs to that category of boys who change girls like gloves. Lili showed that Chizhan Qintian had no right to find a new love interest. The guy expressed confidence that Chizhan Xiaoran would not return to him, even if he did not have this girlfriend. Therefore, he does not understand why arrange a circus. A crowd of students gathered to watch the loud quarrel, which was actively discussing the relationship of the former couple. One girl said that the guy's new passion is cuter and nicer than his ex. Chizhan Qintian had once been completely devoted to the girl standing in front of him now, and was ready to do anything for her. But now, everything has radically changed. Chizhan Xiaoran ordered the boy to leave his new girlfriend immediately. Lin Xiaoshuan said that the girl has no right to tell her companion what to do. The friends directed their anger at the blonde. Chizhan Xiaoran expressed confidence that she has no status in society, and Li Lili accused the girl of getting involved in something she doesn't even know about. Lin Xiaoshuan replied that it is not necessary to know the details of the conflict in order to understand the fact that the girl cheated on him meanly. The girl's companion, however, called his former clever because she guessed that she was not worth Chizhan Qintian's little finger. In the end, the blonde ordered Chizhan Xiaoran to stay away from them as much as possible with her petty claims. In response, she called the girl a bad word and threatened to kill her with her own hands. Lin Xiaoshuan made her armor appear with one movement and then asked the interlocutor if she was ready for a fight. The girls fell to their knees in shock and fear and dropped the trays of food they had taken from the cafeteria. Lin Xiaoshuan removed her fur so as not to frighten the audience even more, and ordered Chizhan Xiaoran to never approach Chizhan Qintian again. The guy called her and offered to get out of this place. The girl gladly agreed and expressed a desire to find a cafe or something to finally eat in a quiet environment. The young man's teammates looked after him with still open mouths, which were completely open in surprise. They were amazed that he had found a girl with fur. Even the cheapest of them had exorbitant prices, and the people mocked Chizhan Xiaoran, whose ex found a better option. The disgraced girl shouted at Chizhan Qintian that he would regret his behavior because Hu Tianhua will avenge her reputation. The old man wondered if his father might still be alive in this reality. He took out his phone and dialed such a familiar number, trying not to entertain too much vain hopes. To Chizhan Qintian's great joy, his father picked up the phone. He said he was aware of the high costs of seeing his son's girlfriend, but would send the money a little later. The guy said he wasn't calling for that. He just wanted to hear his father's voice. The man was at work and was very tired, but his face had a sincere smile from his son's call. The manager approached him and ordered him not to be distracted. Chizhan Qintian's father's name was Lao Chizhan. He worked in construction. He had to quickly say goodbye to his son. He explained that he was busy, but he would definitely visit him soon. The guy said he would wait for that moment, and the phone conversation ended. He was so happy that something in the world remained as it was before. And most importantly, his father is alive. The boss threatened Lao Chizhan that he would fire him if he saw him distracted by small talk one more time. The man apologized, adding that it was a call from his own son. But the boss did not perceive this reason as worth wasting working minutes. Chizhan Qintian offered the forced companion money to pay for a temporary overnight stay. If she has enough money, the guy recommended staying at the Jialiu Hotel. He asked her to stop following him and mind her own business. Lin Xiaoshuan grabbed the young man's arm, saying in a mournful voice that she had hoped to go with him. Chizhan Qintian said that he was not interested and tried to avoid any unnecessary touching. But the girl grabbed him again. She explained that she is afraid to go alone, so she asked the boy to take her to the hotel at least. If he didn't agree, Lin Xiaoshuan would chase him wherever he went. Chizhan Qintian gave his consent, but did so with apparent reluctance, frowning. Before rebirth, the boy, being the lord of demons, fell in love with the goddess. The feelings turned out to be mutual, but the other celestials were against such a union. However, Ruoyun was not intimidated by this. Chizhan Qintian had to fight with gods who did not support the love of a demon and a goddess. The girl gave her lover a divine potion called Chaos, which she had grown in her yard. It was supposed to improve the boy's health. Ruoyun announced that she needed to go to another world for a short time to pass the test. She considered it her duty to practice her skills in order to be able to help the boy. The girl was ready to spend her whole life on it. Finally, she smiled and winked at the boy, promising to find him as soon as she returned. Jan Xintian and her companion took a taxi to the hotel. Lin Xiaoshuan said that her sister owned it. A security guard quickly stopped them at the entrance, asking their names and the purpose of their visit. Perubok did not understand why to ask such a question if people always come to the hotel to spend the night in it. The guard meticulously examined the night guests. He asked if they had reserved a room in advance. Lin Xiaoshuan said that she could probably enter the hotel without it. But they did not give her the opportunity to explain everything properly. The guard said that their hotel is considered the best in the city, so only some people can stay here who must make an agreement about it and do not come without an invitation. The man asked the boy and the girl to leave the area. Someone else approached their small group. It was a fair-haired, middle-aged man with glasses named Van Badan, who worked as the manager of the main hall. He recognized Jan Xintian. However, the young man saw this person for the first time. He asked if they knew each other. It turns out that Van Baden knew that this young man had a fight with Hu Tianhua. The man's face was sneered and scorned. The security guard quietly informed the manager that the boy wanted to rent a room at their hotel. Van Badan began to wave his hands and explain that the shareholder of this building was the father of the young man who had been badly insulted by Jan Xintian. The man called the young man a poor man and called his companion a much more unpleasant word. He concluded that they had no right to enter the hotel and advised them to find a place more suitable for their status. The security guard supported the manager. He said that they only accept members of the highest social classes, and people like Jan Xintian have to spend the night in cheap, dirty rooms. The boy decided to give the men one more try to understand his request in words. As always, in a calm tone, he revealed that he needed a number. But Van Baden continued to roughly drive him away, pointing in the direction with his index finger. In a second, the man's face was hit. Blood flowed from the mouth and nose. The glass on his glasses cracked. From nowhere came the well-dressed Qian Xiaoran and Li Lili, appraising the situation in horror. The girlfriends picked up Van Badan, who was lying on the floor. They asked worriedly what had happened to him. Apparently, the girls knew this man personally. The victim pointed a finger at Jan Xintian, explaining that he wanted to check into the hotel with his companion. These words were mixed with insults in their direction. Jan Xiaoran grimaced and started yelling at her ex-boyfriend, once again trying to shame his behavior. She approached Jan Xintian and Lin Xiaoshuan. She said that she could still tolerate a joint dinner, but not a shared room. Jan Xiaoran poked a finger at the blonde girl, aggressively asking how they met. Jan Xintian said it was none of her business. But she was not satisfied with such an answer. She threatened to mutilate the girl's face. Jan Xiaoran shamelessly reached out to Lin Xiaoshuan as if forgetting how Lin Xiaoshuan was showing off her high-tech mech that her opponent could not match. The blonde slapped the cheeky girl on the cheek, pushing her away from her. But Jan Xiaoran's mouth still did not hide from this. She continued to be indignant, blaming her new friend Jan Xintian. Lin Xiaoshuan hit the screaming person again, trying to bring her to her senses even a little. She firmly stated that she had no desire to tolerate Jan Xiaoran's behavior. If Jan Xintian treats her quite calmly, it doesn't mean that she will do the same. Disgraced and beaten, the girl shouted to Van Badan to call people to deal with the troublemakers. The man loudly called the hotel staff and ordered to catch the poor man with his girlfriend, for whom he always uses an extremely derogatory word that indicates a woman's indecent activity. A couple of people who did not manage to become guests of the hotel were quickly surrounded by guards from all sides. Jan Xiaoran encouraged not to pity Jan Xintian and her companion and make them regret what they had done. The guards were stretching their muscles and skinning their faces. But Lin Xiaoshuan fearlessly said that they can show everything they are capable of. The potential fight was interrupted by the hotel manager Zhen Kaj, whose appearance caused all the guards to freeze. He was immediately approached by Van Baden, who, judging by his strained smile and fidgeting hands, was very worried. He asked for what purpose the manager had come. Zhen Kaj unhappily explained that the commotion raised by the employees was hurting business. He added that such behavior is unacceptable for hotel employees of their level. Van Badan pointed a finger at Lin Xiaoshuan, calling her immoral and telling how she almost caused a massacre. The man shouted to her and her companion that now they would finally understand what kind of trouble they had gotten into, because the hotel manager would deal with them personally. Not quite living up to the expectations of those present, Chazhen Kaj approached the girl whom Van Badan had so painstakingly insulted and bowed to her. His face turned blue. He apologized for not immediately recognizing Lin's head. The faces of the observers of this scene expressed absolute confusion. Chazhen Kaj mentally cursed his colleagues who didn't recognize such an influential personality, because of which all of them would most likely be in big trouble. Lin Xiaoshuan was a well-known businesswoman in this city. She had a lot of connections and was famous for her business skills. The girl also headed the local business community. The blonde slammed right into Chazhen Xiaoran's surprised pike, voicing wild displeasure that she was yelling so much. The girl apologized, looking down and rubbing the affected part of her face. Next, Lin Xiaoshun slapped the manager of the main hall with her hand for all the insulting words he was throwing around. Van Badan reacted the same way Chazhen Xiaoran did. He apologized for not recognizing the girl. Lin Xiaoshuan shouted that those present were also guilty of insulting her friend, constantly calling her names and kicking her out of the hotel. Chazhen Kaj ordered the employees to quickly kneel down and apologize for their immoral behavior. Van Badan, together with the bodyguard, did so, bowing their heads to the very floor. Lin Xiaoshuan had enough of this and led the boy she had already grown attached to inside the building, no longer focusing on her guilty employees. Chazhen Xiaoran and her friend were actively discussing what they saw. Chazhen Qintian's ex-girlfriend called him a pushover. Li Lili was sure that Lin Xiaoshuan was not seriously interested in the young man, but was just having fun using him for her whims. Chan Qintian told the companion that she is already at the hotel, so she definitely shouldn't be afraid now, and he can go. Lin Xiaoshuan asked the boy if he really wasn't as interested in her as he was trying to appear. Turning away from the girl and heading for the exit, the young man said that he would keep this intrigue and waved his hand in farewell. Lin Xiaoshuan thought about how all the boys usually try to get her attention. Chan Qintian is the first person she has to conquer because he himself tries to avoid her, although he helped her and fulfilled her requests. The young man, who had already left the hotel, called Huanfu Kanhaj, whom he saved in the cemetery, and asked for help. The man offered to take Chan Qintian by car right now if he was not busy. The guy agreed. Chen Xiaoran and Li Lili were at the hotel and saw the young man leave it. They decided that he did it not because of his desire, but because he was expelled. Chen Xiaoran scoffed that the boy had such a strong desire to achieve something next to an influential girlfriend, but still he belonged to a completely different level of society, and that would never change. Li Lili expressed that it was his own fault. Now she wonders how he will behave with them after such a personal disgrace. Friends saw an extremely attractive girl nearby. They recognized her as Yun Huanfu from an influential family. Chazhen Xiaoran had seen her on the news, but she didn't expect that she would be even more beautiful in person. This girl's family has even more power than Hu Tianhua's family. Li Lili would dream of having the opportunity to meet her one day. The friends were secretly watching where Huan and Yun was going. The truth shocked them because the girl was going to meet Chazhen Qintian. The spies saw that both got into the same car and went somewhere together. Of course, they were sincerely jealous of the boy who was now communicating with such an influential personality. Li Lili scathingly observed that Chazhen Qintian changes girlfriends too often. The guy from Huanan Yun in a black luxury car arrived at an equally luxurious building. They were met by a worried Huanfu Kanhaj, who happily ran up saying that he was waiting for the boy. Chan Qintian asked what was so urgent. The man asked to follow him and see everything for himself. The young man was taken to a room where another man was standing, and two bodies, either alive or dead, were lying nearby. Huanfu Kanhaj introduced the young man to the famous master Liu Xianchen, who had been gathering knowledge for a long time near Mount Longhu, and he recommended Chazhen Qintian as a talented young man who is impressive with his successes in battle. However, these words did not inspire confidence in Liu Xianchen. The man noted that it is better to pay a little more money than risk contacting lying scammers. Huanfu Qianhaj did not pay attention to the master's opinion because his mind was occupied by other concerns at the moment. Chizhan Qintian explained that the unconscious men are his relatives who were brought yesterday, but they still haven't woken up. He asked to know what is happening to them and how it can be helped. The guy concluded from just one look that the men were poisoned by a zombie toxin and shared his guess with those present. The haughty man pointed a finger at Chizhan Qintian and said unfunny that the young man had watched stupid movies. And the boy called Liu Xianchen an imposter, since a real master from Longhu Mountain would not only know about zombies, but also would have seen them live more than once. In response, the man said that in the era of science and technology, it is simply ridiculous to believe the information of mass culture. He added that his many years of experience near Mount Longhu proved that zombies do not exist. Liu Xianchan turned to Huanfu Qianhaj and tried to reassure him that the young man was not holding back what he was saying. The man asked what the master thought about the condition of his relatives and what he could justify it. Liu Xianchen said that the unconscious had consumed poisonous plants. It is difficult to help, but he just has 2 vials of medicine that will save the men. Chizhan Qintian intervened with the information that Huanfu Qianhaj's relatives might become undead. Liu Xianchen told the young man that one should be honest and humble in life. For example, he, although he has a noble origin, almost does not use this privilege. The man stuck to his story and forced the unconscious to swallow his pills. Liu Xianchen solemnly announced that he had almost cured the sick and they would soon be much better. But something happened to the unconscious men. Not what the master expected. Their eyes turned solid purple. The skin has also acquired this color in some places. And then the men stood up and turned their heads to the audience in unison with terrifying wide smiles on their faces. They wanted to report their strange behavior to the master, but the man was confident that he had solved the problem. Liu Xianchan decided that the surprised faces meant that Huanfu Qianhaj's sick relatives had already woken up. Yun Huanfu covered her mouth in horror. Her grandfather asked the master to look at the condition of the men behind him. Liu Xianchen was completely relaxed and was glad that now they would start thanking him for his help. But behind, the sick men showed off their new fangs, glaring aggressively at the master. He turned because he heard strange noises and barely managed to stop the aggressive creature with its mouth open with his hand. However, 2 men piled on top of him. One of them grabbed the master's neck, probably intending to strangle him. Huanfu Qianhaj asked Chizhan Qintian to help Liu Xianchen and stop the attackers. Immediately after these words of request, one of the sick men flew upside down somewhere to the side. The boy neutralized another by touching his forehead with his finger and using his inner energy. Liu Xianchan was sitting on the floor, his clothes ruined by the attack. He admitted that he was wrong and should not have prevented Chizhan Qintian from solving the problem on his own. The master said that the men were badly poisoned, but he could use his power to help it. He formed a bright purple energy circle, demonstrating his spiritual cultivation skills. The generated energy began to affect the modified men. One of them clutched his head in pain. Liu Xianchan revealed that he used his personal artifact that emits ultraviolet light. Thanks to this, the artifact can destroy a virus, bacterium, or any other pest that has entered the human body. The patient was lying on the floor and screaming, which proved the effectiveness of the master's cultivation. The arrogant man hoped that the young man would notice his wisdom and refined skill, and this would cause him deep respect. Huanfu Qianhaj smiled sincerely and made a gesture of thanks with his hands. He said that it was not for nothing that Liu Xianchen was considered to be the first person who could so perfectly combine cultivation with technology. Chizhan Qintian did not share his joy at all. He said that the artifact only seemed to work because it emitted a bright light that zombies really disliked. The boy said that the patient had a chance to recover, but Liu Xianchen only proved that he died. This angered the master. He shouted to the young man that the toxins were spreading to all organs. It was impossible to stop it and, moreover, to return the men to a normal state. Chizhan Qintian looked at the other patient lying motionless on the floor, but he decided to go over and check if he was still alive, and he was breathing. The young man used his energy that surrounded them with the unconscious man. The patient turned out to be a young man. He began to cough and looked human without the attributes of a vampire. Huanfu Kanhaj grabbed his shoulders in shock and began to ask what had happened to them. The young man, who was still not feeling well, said detachedly that strange things were happening in the golden mine. Huanfu Kanhaj concentrated all his attention on the young interlocutor and expected further explanations from him. Perubok said that he went to the golden mine with 10 people to investigate a recent incident. But for some reason, they ended up in the cemetery. Huanfu Kanhaj asked if they could have been wrong. Still, at the depth at which the mine was located, there could not be a cemetery. The boy waved his hand and confidently declared that they had definitely reached the place with the burials. In addition, the group had to run away from various aggressive evil spirits in the cemetery. Ekushan Chintian guessed that the main reason he had been summoned here had to do with the gold mine. Huanfu Kanhaj said that his family owns these mines. Lately, the mine has often been closed because very strange things have been happening there. The man wanted to ask for help from the cultivator who was killed by the young man in the cemetery, but he betrayed the Huanfu family. So, he chose 2 other people who he hoped would be able to deal with the problems in the mine. Huanfu Kanhaj explained that the gold mine that his family owns is among the largest sources of mineral resources in the kingdom and generates significant profits, which he will share if successful. Liu Xianchen said that solving such problems is his specialty, so he is confident in his ability to deal with this issue. The master assured that he would overcome any evil. After carefully listening to the man's opinion, Huanfu Kanhaj then asked Chezhan Chintian how he felt about such a problem. The boy said he wouldn't mind helping to explore the gold mine. Maybe his knowledge and skills will help too. An important motivation for the young man, which he did not share, was the prospect of meeting a zombie in the caves who could help develop the dark arts in combat techniques. After hearing the agreement from both of them, Huanfu Kanhaj offered to show the gold mine right now. It was located near picturesque green landscapes. Along the way, Liu Xianchan continued to praise his skills that would help him deal with whatever they encountered underground. The company noticed traces of fire in the air. Looking closely, they noticed fur hovering above the ground. Yun Huanfu quickly recognized him. She knew very well that he belonged to the influential Baj family. A young girl was hiding under the fur. She released herself from the mechanism and found herself on the ground next to a rather elderly man. The girl's name was Baj Sinsin. Yun Huanfu asked rather unkindly what she was doing here. The blonde with a sly smile announced that she had flown in to offer her help in the situation with the golden mine. Yun Huanfu said that their family did not need help, so the girl had better get out of here. Baj Sinsin asked why the problem with the gold mine has not been solved yet. It existed for a long time, but no one bothered about it. The blonde said that she uses the most advanced and multifunctional mech of her family, which can really help. However, she is willing to intervene only on the condition that their families share the profits from the mine equally. Yun Huanfu clenched her fist and let it be known with just one expression that she did not like such a proposal at all. Baj Sinsin advised them to think better about it because the mine owned by Huanfu would soon be completely ruined at this rate and their family would not be able to make a fortune from it themselves. Yun Huanfu said she was wrong. The girl invited 2 masters who will certainly fruitfully deal with all the problems. The blonde described the selected assistants in a funny way. She called one an inexperienced young man and the other an old swindler. And then the girl said that she had overestimated Yun Huanfu's ability to deal with the golden mine on her own. Liu Xianchen asked Baj Sinsin to choose his words better because he is a famous master who delicately combines technology and cultivation in martial arts. The blonde huffed back and said she had heard of him. The man was delighted and immediately showed off to his young partner that even a girl from such an influential family knew his distinguished name. Yun Huanfu ordered the confident girl to stop meddling in other people's affairs. And then she ordered her workers to enter the mine. Baj Sinsin said she wanted to go with them because she was interested to see what they would do. Yun Huanfu did not interfere but warned that there might be danger lurking inside and her choice was only her responsibility. So, a not too friendly company entered the cave together. Liu Xianchen walked in front and held some kind of artifact. Shan Qintian sensed a dark aura hovering in the mine, slowly eroding life force. Most people do not notice it, but a long stay here can lead to serious diseases. Liu Xianchen said that the object in his hands is a self-made compass that can detect special energy. The man looked at it carefully and reported to the others that his artifact showed that everything was now normal. However, Chazan Chintian stopped the group, informing them that some essence had seeped into them. Liu Xianchen was indignant and called it empty intimidation because his compass showed that the aura of the dungeon was clear. Yun Huanfu asked the young man to explain what made him think that, but he did not respond. Baji Sinchen assumed that the boy was just scared, so she made up a horror story. The blonde added that it was necessary to immediately listen to her words and prevent liars from being investigated. Liu Xianchan did not like that he was put in the same row with Chazan Chintian, so he asked not to compare them because he is only a young man and he, in general, is an experienced master who possesses the latest combat techniques. Ignoring the man's words, the boy asked how many people were there when they entered the cave. Baji Sinsen's companion said there were 10 of them. Shan Chintian offered to count how many there are now. The whole company suddenly stopped, and everyone looked at their companions and counted them. They found out that there were 11 of them. This fact scared me. One could somehow understand a decrease in numbers by explaining it as someone escaping or getting lost, but not an increase. Zhan Chintian told the audience that a certain creature had joined them and disguised itself as a human. Liu Xianchen started his compass to point west, but the contraption fell to the ground. The guys in business suits looked at each other confusedly, because of the uniformity of their clothes, it was the easiest to hide among them. Yun Huanfu ordered her men to stop so she could check on them. The girl ordered one of them, in whom she was absolutely sure to do it, carefully counting each one by name. The boy went to carry out the order, helping himself with his index finger. At one point, he was horrified and cried because he saw 2 identical people, Van Liu and his copy. Liu Xianchen was the first to react, ordering the traitor to confess on his own or risk experiencing his mighty power. Both boys behaved the same way. They were alarmed and verbally tried to prove their authenticity. Meanwhile, Liu Xianchen's compass rose into the air, leaving a trail of fire. However, he was never able to point to Zeta. Baji Sinsen released a bright energy around her, offering to kill both of them to definitely avoid the risks. The boys fell to their knees, asking not to be killed. One of them mentioned his loyalty to the lady, which made him perhaps worth living. Yun Huanfu did not like the interference of a girl from another family in her affairs. She said unkindly that she would figure it out herself, because Van Liu is from the Huanfu family. However, despite her pride, it would still be difficult for her to solve the problem on her own. She looked at Chazan Chintian, showing a silent request with her gaze. The guy easily read it and confidently pointed to one of the workers, calling him a dummy. However, that young man tried to justify himself in the eyes of those present, and especially in the eyes of Yun Huanfu. He tearfully reminded her that he had worked for her for 10 years, so he couldn't be untrue. However, the girl believed not him, but her savior at the cemetery. Her workers were already on their way to the masked creature. The creature took on a terrifying appearance. The eyes became bottomless black, and the mouth turned into the terrible smile of a madman. The creature radiated its inner power, which gradually surrounded everyone present. Van Liu's clone ran at Chazan Chintian, shouting that he intended to kill him for the boy harming his plan. His skin turned purple. The creature took on an increasingly inhuman appearance. She extended her limb to the enemy, threatening to drain his blood. For this, the creature received a strong blow from the young man, who was accompanied by yellow power and kindly rejected it. The creature fell to the ground, stuck out its tongue and lay motionless for several seconds. And then it dissolved into the air, leaving behind only black smoke. Liu Xianchen opined that he was unable to calculate this creature because it turned out to be a small ghost whose weak power could not harm anyone. Yun Huanfu asked all the companions to gather their spirits and continue on their way. The group arrived at a mine where they saw gold mining equipment. The boy who was healed by Chazan Chintian said that this is the place where he saw ghosts. Liu Xianchan continued to try to convince the audience that he was the one who could defeat all the supernatural enemies. Chazan Chintian noted in his mind that there was an infernal enmity in these mines, and the creatures that live here are very dangerous. Liu Xianchan couldn't stop his boasting. He told how he could neutralize ghosts instantly and assured that thanks to him, everyone could relax, because they would be guaranteed to be safe. Chazan Chintian advised the arrogant master to step back so as not to provoke the appearance of aggressive creatures. The man was indignant, clenching his fist. He said his compass had already checked the area and found nothing remotely suspicious. Suddenly, a massive black hand crawled out of the purple smoke hole in space and grabbed Liu Xianchan, pulling her into the portal. The whole company became alert and began to look around, looking for danger. Qian Qintian explained that they had encountered a ghost. The boy, who was already familiar with the evil spirits of the Golden Mine, recognized the creature because he had already seen similar ones with his friends. He noticed that other ghosts appeared and shouted about it to his companions. Extremely long black arms crept towards the company from all sides. They were not very similar to humans. The fingers looked strangely, unnaturally thin. The assistants in business suits were caught in a tornado of purple energy, and black hands gripped them tightly like insects. One of the giant limbs approached Qian Qintian and prepared to catch him. The boy released some power near his head and slyly looked at his hand, eagerly awaiting the attack. And then he still hit the strange creature with his powerful energy, which made it freeze for a second. The struck hand hurried back into the cloud of smoke, perhaps because it had received some damage, because Qian Qintian is quite a martial artist. The boy got the opportunity, now completely unhindered, to enter the portal used by the Black Hands. He found himself in a strange place in the fresh air. The young man recognized him as something special. Qian Qintian did not move there alone. His companions were also there. Confused, Baj Jinsen sat in some wooden container. The employees of the Huanfu family were also in similar contraptions. The boys noticed that it was very similar to coffins. No one could see Liu Xianchan, so one of the boys started calling out to him, hoping he would respond. All the others were quickly found and gathered around. Qian Qintian stood on the coffin and surveyed the area. The rest simply waited in confusion for his orders. The young man began to kick the closed coffin, guessing that the man they could not find might be there. The guess was confirmed. The boys took the frightened Liu Xianchan out of the coffin. One of them smelled a disgusting smell and asked the master if he had wet himself from the stress he had experienced. The man frowned and instantly blushed. He said that he specifically used his urine to ward off spirits. Qian Qintian looked like he was about to go somewhere. Yun Huanfu noticed this and asked if the young man was really leaving them. The guy advised the girl to stay put and not move. And for the maximum security, which is possible at all, it is better to lie down in a coffin. And he promises to deal with everything in order to take the whole group away later. Nearby appeared Liu Xianchan and one of Yun Huanfu's workers, wrinkling his nose from the master's unpleasant smell. The man pointed out that the boy was too young to solve their problem. Baji Sinsin did not appreciate the prospect of lying in a coffin and waiting for the weather from the sea. She was determined to fight the enemies, whoever they were, spirits, demons, or some other evil. Qian Qintian did not want to take anyone with him. Seeing that getting the group to hide wasn't going very well, he spat at it, told them they were free to do what they wanted, and left them. Compared to Baj Jinsen, the guys in business suits were confused, not knowing how to act. They were expecting some orders from Yun Huanfu. Liu Xianchan turned to the girl with the idea that in such a situation, they should first of all find the root of the problem. The man held the compass without contact, placing great hopes on it. Yun Huanfu pulled herself together and in a firm tone ordered her men to survey the area together so as not to sit idly by. Qian Qintian moved some distance away from the company. A giant, scary purple head appeared near him, laughing and congratulating the boy on going to hell. He did not react at first. The head began to tell that the young man would definitely experience various forms of death. Qian Qintian must have gotten tired of hearing this, so he summoned his inner energy and launched it. She found the creature lurking nearby and stung her. It was an evil spirit that bewitched the big head that was flying menacingly above the ground. The human-like creature was shocked that the boy had found it. Qian Qintian described her as a weak demon cultivator. It was ridiculous to call their encounter a fight because the result was more than obvious. The boy lifted the demon off the ground with thick blue power and tied his hands above his head. The creature began to scream. The disgraced demon emphasized that they were in hell, and killing a messenger from this dimension was unacceptable and completely unforgivable. Chazan Chintian made it clear that it didn't matter to him, even if he was telling the truth and not lying for a chance to save himself. When it comes down to it, the young man is ready to walk through all 9 circles of hell without fear. Chazan Chintian withdrew his energy and the opponent fell painfully to the hard ground. The demon snarled, promising that the king of hell would wake up soon, and unscrupulous creatures like the boy standing next to him would be severely punished. Chazan Chintian enjoyed the demonic energy of the dimension he entered. Compared to the one emitted by the cultivator he had killed in the graveyard, this one was of a much higher quality. The boy sat in the lotus position, meditating. Red fiery energy swirled around him. Yun Huanfu, Liu Xianchen, and all of their companions came across Chazan Chintian while exploring the area. The girl asked him what he does. She really hoped that the boy managed to learn something and figure out how to get out of here. Liu Xianchan, unfunny, suggested that Chazan Chintian was afraid to move by himself, so he waited for them, sitting motionless on the stone, afraid to make any unnecessary movement. Perubok strongly advised them to return to the coffins, because even the weak monsters that may come across their way will become dangerous opponents that they cannot cope with. Liu Xianchan shamed the boy as he addressed Yun Huanfu. He said that he does not work out the money that he probably received for the help, and instead of finding a solution to the problem, he sends the group to wait for an unknown thing. Baj Sinsen was not afraid of any creatures. Quite the opposite. She informed her elderly companion that they would go in search of zombies to test her powerful cannon against them. Yun Huanfu told Chazan Chintian that she could not stand by when the fate of a mine so important to her family was decided. Therefore, she goes with the group to look for the cause of all the bad weather. The company, which had not yet set out, heard a loud voice from somewhere in the sky, hailing the entrance to hell, just as one of them had already heard it. Liu Xianchen was the first to react to what he heard. I asked whose voice it was. The man's eyes searched for the source of the sound. The voice sounded from above, but the sky was decorated only with clouds. No creatures were seen. The voice ordered not to move and not to talk. Otherwise, there is a risk of getting into a tongue retraction procedure. One of the frightened employees of the Huanfu family began to cough painfully. Blood flowed from his mouth. A vortex of dark, menacing energy lifted this boy above the ground. A blue face-like force came out of the mouth. The boy fell to the ground, covering his eyes with his hands and obviously suffering. The companions timidly watched this, not understanding how to help. Chazan Chintian mentally noted that this enemy is more cunning and skillful, does not allow to calculate it like the previous demon. The sky took on a crimson hue, similar to blood. Other people felt sick and started coughing too. A voice from heaven ordered to kneel down, giving permission to move and talk. A threat was made to the hell of Nozov-Agora if the order was not followed. Some obeyed immediately. Worried, Yun Huanfu asked Liu Xianchen what they should do to save themselves. Baj Sinsen's companion asked the voice who had the audacity to threaten them and order them to kneel. The man summoned his fur, which quickly and tightly covered him. He provoked the creature to show itself to him if it had courage. The man raised his hand, displaying a missile embedded in the mech, and threatened to use it if the enemy did not appear and destroy them. However, the creature did not react as he commanded. Giant sharp blades flew at the man, some stuck in his body. Baj Sinsen stared in shock at her companion lying unconscious on the ground. The armor was damaged, something that had once seemed impossible to her, as this mech was of high quality and should easily repel all attacks. Only the bravest still stood on their feet, not giving in and not kneeling. But the situation seemed far from the most favorable, and they understood it well. Liu Xianchan told Yun Huanfu that he had no idea who their enemy was, but it was better to accept his terms because he had already shown his strength and trying to resist him could end in disaster. The man knelt down, bowing to the unknown. He lost all his confidence and looked down at himself, advising everyone to do the same. Only one person remained surprisingly calm, and it seemed that the terrible creature had no power over him. Of course, it was Chazan Chintian. Liu Xianchen looked at him nervously. He ordered him to obey like everyone else and not to make himself immortal or invincible, expressing his belief that it made no sense. Even Yun Huanfu supported the man's words. She said that it was unclear what else their enemy was capable of, so it was better to be safe. Chizan Qintian said that the attacker cannot be strong a priori. In that case, he would get out of here behind the big wall, but he is not really capable of doing that. Blades flew at the boy, but he calmly avoided them. His reaction was strikingly different from the young man who was kneeling next to him and barely breathing from the strain. Chizan Qintian caught one blade with his fingers and launched it into the sky where it had come from. The boy arrogantly and mockingly shouted that he was the hell that the attacker should be afraid of. Liu Xianchen was considered a certain authority among the boys in suits. Some of them looked at him with pleading eyes, as if he was capable of helping everyone untangle. However, the man had no ideas but to obey the disembodied voice. He watched Chizan Qintian's actions disdainfully, deciding that the boy was about to die. A voice directed the company to the hall of the pit ahead of them. Baj Fen tiredly rose to her feet and urged her companions not to slow down. So they came to a beautiful building that looked a little scary against the bloody sky. And a red mist wandered near her. Chizan Qintian showed that he was the bravest of them all by climbing the stairs first. The door to the hall of the pit turned out to be a portal into which the young man boldly entered without much thought. It was quite dark inside, with only 2 blue lights and a hieroglyph on the door illuminating the room. Human bones lay near the walls. A disembodied voice explained that one could beg for forgiveness by repenting and donating one's blood. Parubka was indifferent to these ridiculous stories and countless orders. He declared that he was giving the creature one last chance to show itself and meet its death with dignity. The boy's forced companions also entered the hall of the pit, looking around the room in confusion. Liu Xianchan glared at Chizan Qintian angrily. The guy said that they don't have to be here. On the contrary, it is better to leave the building. And he has business, so he will be a little late. Liu Xianchan opined that Chizan Qintian had created even more problems for them than they already had. He believes that in the situation that happened, it is better to go together, where the voice tells. Baja Sinsin, gathering her strength a little, asked if there was a door here. The spirit wanted them to go somewhere further. The girl was pointed to the door directly opposite the entrance portal. But it is not known what lies behind them. Chizan Qintian turned to Yun Huanfu, trying to convince her at least that it would be safer to wait outside. He succeeded. The girl told her companions that she would leave the building as it was very creepy and advised others to go with her. Liu Xianchan told her that they were nothing more cowardly than a child like Chizan Qintian, so they should enter the mysterious door. Baji Sinsen speculated that the path they were so afraid of was actually the way out of hell, so they had better take their chances. One young man noticed that the portal will close soon, so everyone needs to make a decision as soon as possible. Otherwise, there will be no choice at all. Above the tall door hung a terrifying head with a gaping mouth displaying large and dangerous-looking fangs. The door attracted all the attention of those present because it suddenly opened. A narrow gap appeared, from which a bright acid-green glow broke through. Gradually, the passage increased, and a creature with noticeable orange eyes slowly came out from behind the door. When she advanced a little and the green glow stopped illuminating her, it became clear that it was a tiger. And he was not alone. 2 more followed him. They had spikes on their backs. Something like blood was dripping from the eyes. It was difficult for the company to understand how the tigers could end up here. The people simply watched their unhurried movements in shock. Chizan Qintian explained that they encountered tomb tigers, and this dimension gave birth to them, as well as other vile creatures. Strongly resonating with the reactions of his companions, the young man for some reason was happy about this encounter. One boy shouted loudly, wanting to get out of the building as quickly as possible. He ran to the door where the portal was located, but it has already closed. The panicked Parubka could only knock on the door, hoping for a miracle. His companions tried not to move, so the animals were not interested in them. And one of the tigers jumped on the fussy and loud boy. He pinned the victim to the floor, blocking any opportunity to break free. He sat on the boy, flashing large white fangs. Yun Huanfu worriedly asked Chizon Qintian if there was any way out or if they were all doomed to die a gruesome death. The young man recalled that he tried to persuade them to leave the building when there was still such an opportunity. But now the portal is gone, as is the chance for release. The mysterious voice, which had already managed to disgust everyone, said that the company had two options. Either die collectively or choose one person who will sacrifice himself for the sake of the lives of others. He allocated only 10 seconds to make a decision, after which all those present will die. The people turned to Chizon Qintian, staring at him. Yun Huanfu asked the boy what they should do. Liu Xianchen, instead of, for example, offering some decent idea, began to loudly resent the fact that they have no chance to get out of this situation. A voice announced that there were only 3 seconds left. The grave tigers obediently stood and watched, waiting for the death sentence for the humans. Baj Sinsen interrupted the disembodied voice, raised her hand and said confidently that they were ready to vote. Meeting the looks with noticeable doubt, the girl said that this was the only survival option they had left, so it would be foolish not to use it. The voice praised her for her rationality. Then he set the condition that the girls, Liu Xianchen and Chizon Qintian, should decide by holding a vote. He gives 3 minutes for this. The essence of the task was similar. If there is no solution, then everyone will die. And if the majority votes for one person, that person will die. Yun Huanfu did not like that they had to approve someone's death at all. It is not subject to any principles of morality. Liu Xianchan said that it didn't matter now. The main thing is that they have a chance to survive, so they have to make this choice no matter what. The man jabbed his index finger at Chizon Qintian, saying that he had the lowest status of the 4. In addition, it was he who attracted the attention of the formidable creature. Stroking his mustache, Liu Xianchen assumed that the boy's fate was sealed the moment he entered this dimension. In turn, the man promises to perform the ceremony after his death so that his soul does not suffer torment. Chizon Qintian slapped him on the cheek for thinking like that, wiping the sly smile from his face. The man lost his balance and fell to the floor, having run over it a little with his chin. Chizon Qintian said grimly that they had to hold a vote, so everyone should have their say, rather than immediately settling on one candidate. For example, he votes against Liu Xianchen. The man got angry at such an answer, calling the boy crazy, saying that he could not possibly realize his true purpose. The haughty master then turned to the girls, urging them to vote against Chizon Qintian's insolence so that he would die in their stead. Without explaining her choice in any way, Baj Sinchen raised her hand and emphatically declared that she was casting her vote against Liu Xianchen. After all, she spoke a little. She said that she would not listen to the old swindler under any circumstances. It is better to save the young man's life. It was obvious that Liu Xianchen was very worried, but he did not lose his shaky hope. Told Yun Huanfu that she could make a tie if she voted against Chizon Qintian. A disembodied voice announced that the group had 5 seconds left to make a decision. The man folded his hands in a pleading gesture and urged Yun Huanfu to try to save his life. The girl apologized that she could not do this, as Chizon Qintian has much more trust in her. She has officially announced that she is casting her vote against Liu Xianchan. The man who was chosen for the sacrifice sank to the ground, finally scrunching up his face and preparing for the death sentence. The voice announced that the voting was complete and the chosen victim would now die. The tiger was just waiting for this. He jerked towards Liu Xianchen. Other animals joined him and began to torment the unfortunate man. He shouted and begged for help, but his companions only watched the terrible action in alarm. The voice commended those who remained unscathed for their obedience, saying that this was the right way to salvation. He added that one of the people present managed to insult him, and it was a boy in particular. The last task is to kill him. Then the girls will be free. If they listened, the voice threatened to leave no one alive. The girl's first reaction was confusion. However, Baj Sinchen quickly decided what she would do. She summoned her mech, which immediately enveloped her body. The girl pointed the cannon that was built into the arm of the mechanism at Chizon Qintian. Yun Huanfu tried to verbally stop her. Baj Sinchen said she had no choice. In order to survive, she has to kill the boy, so she will do it whether she wants to or not. Her cannon was emitting energy and ready to go. Yun Huanfu came close to her interlocutor. She wanted to reassure her that the enemy would not stop there. He just plays with them, watching them kill each other. Baji Sinchen said that even if the girl is right, they will all die, so there is no point in pitying the boy. And by killing him, she will at least add a few minutes to her life. The cannon was also aimed at Chizhan Xintian at a distance of a couple of decimeters, but its owner still thought about it and did not release it yet. A disembodied voice announced that there were 10 seconds left. The boy moved a little further away from the weapon. Moreover, as always, he radiated only calmness and indifference. Baj Sinsen said in displeasure that she would not let him go and ordered the young man to stop. Chizhan Xintian did indeed. But besides that, he straightened his hand and grabbed the girl's cannon with it. The boy took the energy it emitted under his control, and the dangerous weapon shattered into pieces. Chizhan Xintian, flashing red eyes, sternly told Baj Sinsen to escape while there was a chance. Parubok confidently approached the stairs, which in turn led to the mysterious door from which the grave tigers had recently emerged. The disembodied voice grew angry, mistaking his behavior for a challenge. Chizhan Xintian waved a hand that radiated powerful energy. He promised to immediately find the source of the hateful sounds and deal with him. A voice coming from about the place where the likeness of the monster with bright green eyes was hanging. He ordered the tigers to kill the young man. Yun Huanfu sensitively asked Chizhan Xintian to be careful out of concern for his safety. One of the tigers, emitting hellish energy on its own, quickly approached the victim, but she stopped him by touching her nose. And then Chizhan Xintian dispersed the power in his hand and struck the enemy with a blow that had a significant effect. The affected animal fell to the ground, being unconscious. The jaw was gaped open, the eyes were temporarily damaged. Baj Sinsen was shocked that a human could achieve such a level of martial arts mastery. As if not a person at all, but a mythical creature. One tiger was defeated, but there were 2 more that jumped fiercely at the boy, intending to attack from above. They were also surrounded by fiery energy. However, even this attack failed to cause confusion in Chizhan Xintian. He quickly repelled the attack of the predators, so all the enemies of the flesh have been successfully overthrown. And the young man finally seemed to get the opportunity to approach the door into which the incomprehensible voice did not want to let in the forced guests. However, the mysterious opponent has not disappeared. He had what looked like eyes and a mouth. He admitted that he had underestimated the boy, but now he was making sure that there was no way Chizhan Xintian would get out of the building alive. The boy came close to the door. In their center shone hieroglyphs, which he decided to touch. The voice said that the door was made of a special kind of stone, so it could not be broken. Baj Sinchen haughtily approached Chizhan Xintian, offering to work as a team. Her mech may have a better chance of overcoming an obstacle in the form of an ill-fated door. The girl aimed her high-quality cannon at them and unleashed energy sparing nothing. The power was really great. After her, a thick fog formed. But when it dissipated a little, it became noticeable that the door remained intact. Baj Sinsen did not expect this at all. Not even a scratch remained. No sign that the door had taken a stunning blow. This fact morally finished the girl. She despaired that she would be able to get out alive. She concentrated her thoughts on the fact that she would die very soon. Baj Sinsen also decided to test his strength on the indestructible door. He brought his fist up, gathering energy in it and preparing to strike. In a second, the boy pushed him against their obstacle. This time, there were consequences of a sharp collision. The door was simply broken. Baj Sinsen thought in shock that the boy's fist was many times more powerful than her mech cannon. She thought again that Chizhan Xintian was not human, this time more seriously. A large hole appeared in front of the boy through which one could easily pass. He asked the others to stay in that room while he went to explore the unknown. Chizhan Xintian found himself in a small room where he was greeted by an old man with closed eyes sitting on the floor in a lotus position. A small circle of pink loose energy flew behind his head. The old man told about his immortality. What happened to the boy was a test that he successfully passed. Now the old man offers Chizhan Xintian to become his disciple and follow the path to eternal life. The boy was not interested in such an offer. He decided it was a hoax to confuse him, said it was ridiculous to use such tricks with a person who managed to get in here. The old man turned from a sweet grandfather into an insidious demon. Outwardly, he almost did not change, but he stopped pretending. An evil smile appeared on his face. Red eyes attracted the most attention. The old man realized that his demonic aura did not affect the young man, so he did not buy into his game. Assumed he was a demon too. And then he offered to coexist peacefully. Chazan Tsintian was not interested in this either. He said it wouldn't happen because the old demon would die today. The boy's enemy did not delay. His green nails suddenly lengthened and he made an attempt to attack with them. Chazan Tsintian instantly summoned a giant three-headed monster that grew menacingly behind him. The old man was quite frightened by this. He noted that the young man was surrounded by an extremely frightening aura, and then he asked who he was. Chazan Tsintian ignored the question. Instead, he ordered the old demon to show his true form instead of his human form. It did not happen immediately. Instead of legs, the old man grew roots, and part of his head became acid green. A huge smile appeared on it. The conversion is complete. The old man turned into a plant. However, not the usual one. All that remained on his face was a small mouth showing several rows of sharp teeth. The head was surrounded by petals and thorns. The creature opened its fearsome mouth even more, intending to attack Chazan Tsintian. The boy told the demon that he was overestimating his abilities by making these ridiculous attempts. His monster fiercely grabbed the plant creature with strong hands, squeezing it tightly around the neck. The demon became very sick. He barely managed to grunt out one word, "No!" begging to let him go. The three-headed giant did indeed leave the creature alone, but before that, threw it to the ground with all its might, causing even more damage and pain. This whole situation became a great opportunity for Chazan Tsintian to saturate himself with energy, thus perfecting himself. He sat next to the demon in a lotus position, absorbing his power. A channel was formed between the giant plant and the log, through which the winner of the fight transferred energy to himself from the weak body of the enemy. Thanks to this procedure, the boy felt almost omnipotent, gaining new strength. And an additional eye appeared on his forehead. This happened because he activated the magic eye ability due to the large amount of power in the demon's body, which the young man did not even expect. The creature was still alive. She turned back into an old man. He looked very frail. He asked not to take his life, paying homage to all the demons practicing the dark arts. Chazan Tsintian expressed the opinion that cultivation is the search for the true essence of the universe and liberation from human limitations. However, abuse of those who are weaker and the killing of innocents are not included here. Perubok added that the demons who do this only shame the masters of the dark arts. That is why he intends to destroy the enemy. The Chazan Tsintian released streams of strong fiery energy to carry out his plan and punish the villain for all the bad things he had managed to do in his life. The old man was close to death, but he did not stop trying to win his right to exist. He warned that after killing the boy, other creatures might find revenge. Chazan Tsintian didn't care about these words. He did not stop the fire attack. The demon died, leaving behind a purple plant or something. The boy was still surprised that magical creatures lived on Earth. For example, this man-eating plant. But he was happy about it. He was ready to get to know the planet in all its mysterious manifestations. Life here seemed much more interesting to the young man than his past among the gods. Baj Chinsen expressed doubts that everything went according to plan in Chazan Tsintian. She assumed that during the time the group was waiting for him, he would have died many times behind the mysterious door. Yun Huanfu did not support such an opinion because their companion is an extremely skilled warrior who can assess his own strength. If he took on such a responsibility, then he will not fail. Baj Chinsen was still skeptical. She was sorry that she did not take the best sword of the family with her. In her opinion, he would help to avoid this pile of problems that they got into. Killing all the doubts and worries of the company, Chazan Tsintian returned to her from behind the door, through which the bright green glow no longer penetrated. The girls were finally able to breathe a sigh of relief, more or less. Baj Sinsen asked what was in that room. The boy, as if he didn't hear the armored girl's question, asked Yun Huanfu to get out of the building as soon as possible. Baji Sinsen decided that Chizhan Qintian was ignoring her on purpose because he considered himself to be much more professional, which is why he didn't want to explain to a person with weak skills what he had done to the enemy. The Trinity returned through the roads of a strange dimension to the place where they first appeared, to the coffins. As a result, they managed to return to the ordinary world from the cave. The sun was shining on them, which they had time to get used to. Yun Huanfu covered her eyes with her hand, hiding from the bright rays. She couldn't rejoice normally as their research trip had claimed the lives of most of the group. Baj Sinsen didn't have much desire to stay with them, so she used her mech's excellent standard function and took off. The mechanism was truly unsurpassed. The girl disappeared from sight in a moment, leaving only a trail of fire. Yun Huanfu sincerely thanked Chizhan Qintian for saving her more than once and helping her family deal with the golden mine. She also promised to tell about it to her grandfather, who will surely thank the young man later. Later, the boy was walking along a street near the building that was his former school. Nearby, he noticed a boy and a girl who were arguing loudly. A young man in a snow, white shirt and glasses, whose name was Liu Ven, reminded of the conditions he was in. This should have been an argument for his interlocutor in an unpleasant dialogue. Pink-haired schoolgirl turned out to be a Yunuo. She angrily explained that she did not like the boy. This is the main reason. The girl menacingly asks not to cling to her with stupid conversations. Liu Ven is genuinely indignant at these words, not even believing them. He receives scholarships every year, is popular at school, and considers himself a real genius who can't help but like him. The student assures that he has a wealth of theoretical knowledge, although he has never been in a romantic relationship. He is sure that girls want to be pursued, but he does it so he doesn't understand what's wrong. However, Liu Ven is convinced that sooner or later his strategy will succeed and An Yunuo will officially become his girlfriend. Chizhan Qintian, who was listening to the conversation with interest, was amazed by the young man's shamelessness. He had not seen anything like this even in the immortal realm among the deities. An Yunuo noticed an old friend and happily ran up to him to say hello. Her obnoxious companion also approached, holding out Chizhan Qintian's hand and haughtily introducing himself as the school's academic genius. But the skillful master of martial arts did not want to get acquainted. His gaze was superficial, and he never shook the outstretched limb, keeping his hands in his pockets. Liu Ven frowned at this, but he tried to control himself. He said that he had heard about Chizhan Qintian that Hu Tianhua had taken his girlfriend away from him, and asked if it was true. An Yunuo became even more angry with the boy for such insolent words and asked her to watch what came out of his mouth better. Liu Ven said that he does not respect Hu Tianhua because he uses his power to make other people suffer. But that doesn't change the fact that his girlfriend was recently in a relationship with Chizhan Qintian. An Yunuo said that it was a good thing that it happened because Chizhan Xiaoran was not worthy to date such a wonderful boy. And he can easily find a much better girl, so there is no problem. Liu Ven disagreed with her. Everyone knows that Chizhan Qintian's beloved left him for another cooler guy. Therefore, no girl will want to date him now. An Yunuo refuted his arguments, shouting loudly that she dreams of this guy. Such a statement puzzled both young men. Chizhan Qintian hardly showed it, and Liu Ven's eyes widened and his mouth fell open in surprise. An Yunuo grabbed the boy's hand with both hands, gently pressing against him. She said she would be his girlfriend if he wanted it himself. Liu Ven jabbed a finger at her, furiously saying that she was making a terrible mistake, and ordered her to get away from Chizhan Qintian. An Yunuo disobeyed him. She only angrily stated that her actions should not concern anyone and rudely asked the brat to leave. The academic genius of the school turned now to the boy who was terribly annoying him and ordered him to act nobly, leaving the girl he was not worthy of. Chizhan Qintian was not interested in what the rambunctious schoolboy was saying. He calmly offered his friend to have a drink from here. An Yunuo happily agreed, grabbing the boy's hand again. Liu Ven saw them off with his fierce gaze. However, he could not come to terms with what had happened, so in a couple of seconds he blocked their way, rudely ordering them to stop. Chizhan Chintian firmly told him to leave them alone and lightly pushed the brat away with his hand, but it caused him to fly away gracefully. Liu Ven called out to his new enemy as he rose from the ground. He then revealed that he would not allow this disgrace to go unpunished because he was a representative of the generation of the gods of learning. The boy promised that one day he would defeat Chizhan Chintian and bring the foolish girl back to him. The couple was walking around the school grounds. And Yunuo told the boy that Hu Tianhua had come back from the hospital and was grinding his teeth on him. The girl remembered the character of the rich man and understood that he would definitely remember his offender. Chizhan Chintian said he was not afraid. Only those who dare to run into him should be afraid. Parubok noticed a tightly packed crowd. People asked the mech community for permission to join them. School children were full of enthusiasm and delight. The haughty boy behind whom the mech towered ordered everyone interested in their union to form a line to avoid column formation. He stated that the community recruits only the richest individuals. Anyunuo explained to Chizhan Chintian that the mech club is considered the coolest in the school. Everyone dreams of getting there. This is not surprising because wearing mechs and having a chance to become an Esper is extremely promising. However, most schoolboy dreams will not come true, as the mech community will never accept the poor and losers, and they consider almost everyone to be like that. Not far away, they were recruiting for another club, but no one approached that counter. School children ran past this place, hurrying to representatives of the most popular community. Baofu Martial Arts Club complained to his partner that no one was paying attention to their school organization. Adding fuel to the fire is that Hu Tianhua seems to be the vice president of the mech community. Din Mejguj, the representative of the upset young man, tiredly said that now traditional martial arts are of little interest in principle. Most prefer unusual modern techniques. Baofu reminded that with insufficient number of club members, their association would lose its official status in the school. Then asked the girl if she had any ideas how this could be avoided. Din Majguj intended to lure some guy to join them if it could help. Her main goal is to prevent the club from closing. Baofu wondered if he too could make someone fall in love with him. But he quickly came to the conclusion that it was not. This method of execution is more likely to scare people away than to encourage them to become a member of their club. A Chizhan Chintian and Anyunuo's walk led them to the booth of the martial arts organization. Din Mejguj became as friendly as possible and quickly approached the young interlocutors passing by. I offered them a brochure with basic information about the club. Anyunuo gave a big smile and thanked her, but said that they had no plans to join. Chizhan Chintian stood by, but was not interested in the girl's courtesies. Din Mejguj tried to keep a happy expression on her face, but it was obvious that the answer upset her. Chizhan Chintian overheard the conversation between the two boys, which was happening not far away. One told the other that his idea of joining a martial arts club was too embarrassing and tried to pull him away from their booth. The red-haired boy tried to prove to his friend that membership in this organization would help develop strength and maintain health. The blonde then showed that it was just a deception from the masters of traditional martial arts, and all the cool schoolboys belonged to the mech club. Besides, their skills are much more practical. The determined young man called the members of the martial arts club crazy and stubbornly urged his friend to get away from their stand. The conversation was loud and many people heard it. Din Mejguj was so enraged that she shouted at the boys to stop immediately, determined to intervene in the dialogue. The ardent hater of traditional martial arts turned to the girl with an extremely disdainful expression on his face, as if doing it a great favor. Din Mejguj poked her index finger in his direction and, in an aggressive tone, asked for a reasoned explanation for her negative words about the masters of her direction. The blonde pointed out that not a single member of the martial arts club had entered an academy, showing how flawed and useless their skills were. The girl was boiling. Her face was red. Little by little, she began to approach the cause of her irritation, asking if the boy really wanted to walk around beaten. The schoolboy seemed to be amused by this. He provoked the martial artist, waiting to see what she would do next. Din Meigu's anger reached such a level that she did not want to explain anything with words. She used her strong fist and drove it into the blonde. The blow was unexpected and really accurate. The boy quickly flew away a few meters from the attacker. When he realized what had happened, his face was no longer sly and provocative. The young man was furious, surprised that the girl dared to hit him. He started pouring threats. A blue glow began to surround him. It turned out that he had summoned a mech. Then the statement was made that the girl was going to be punished right now in front of everyone who had already gathered around the quarrel. The guy said that this would prove definitively that the martial arts club is a group of losers and frauds, if anyone still doubts. In the next second, there was a direct collision of the fists of the opponents, which created a small force wave and sparks of fire. Meiguj was defeated in it, which was significantly pushed away from the armored guy. The girl sprawled painfully on the hard ground. A worried Bao Fu ran up to her and asked if she was too stuffed. Din Meiguj replied that she was fine, but the fact that she was rubbing her hand vigorously said that this was not quite true. Both members of the martial arts club were now looking at the third boy grimly, and he contemptuously informed that they could attack him together, adding a couple of insulting words. Bafu ran towards the blonde, angrily yelling that he had gone too far with his actions. Not having time to prepare for the attack, he himself was hit. His cheek met unpleasantly with the armored fist of his opponent. Bao Fu, as well as his deputy in the club, had no chance to keep his balance. The blonde laughed that this guy was even weaker than his girlfriend. He eloquently stated that martial artists had a chance to escape his wrath if they now publicly stated that their craft was nothing more than garbage. Din Meiguj, who had already managed to move away from the blow, made another attempt to harm the offender, this time attacking from a jump. But the blonde easily repelled this attack as well, kicking the girl with his foot and throwing her towards Bao Fu, who was still lying on the ground. The crowd gasped in shock and admiration at the strength of the boy, who turned out to be Chuan Vu. It wasn't enough for this scumbag that his opponents obviously lost with a bang to the power of his mech. He asked if they recognized his great superiority over them. Din Meigu's face was still red with rage. She began to answer slowly, beginning her sentence with the word, "I admit." Chuan Vu smiled evilly, glad that he had succeeded in breaking the girl's confidence and pride. However, Din Meiguj finished the sentence, and it turned out that she was mocking, saying as if she was admitting that she was his grandmother. Chuan Vu approached her threateningly, claiming that she was behaving in such a way that she was seeking to be killed. The boy's fur gave off a strange glow.
The girl turned away, trying to avoid the strong fist that, teasingly, the opponent was extending to her.
The young boys and girls watching the action whispered, predicting that the martial arts club would become the main laughingstock of the school for a long time. Chuan Vu finally decided to make a final blow, but was stopped by Bao Fu, who intercepted his fist with his hands. School children became more and more shocked every second, not having time to comprehend what was happening before their eyes. Chan Xintian understood that this martial arts master was not as simple as he might seem. His physique contains the spirit of a demon, which allowed him to resist mechs. Anu Nuo, standing next to her friend, angrily criticized the mech club and its members' arrogance. Chuan Vu mockingly asked the boy who was blocking his devastating attack if he could handle him. Afterwards, he harshly announced that the martial arts club would cease to exist today. Bao Fu wasn't going to back down and launched another blow fueled by his true anger. However, even this did not help him overcome the mech, which really had many advantages in combat. Chuan Vu once again threw the opponent to the ground. The boy was filled with an unhealthy desire to punish the representatives of the unpopular club for disrespecting him and making claims against him. Bao Fu was just getting up from his knees, and Chuan Vu was already flying at him on the mech's jet engine, preparing for a merciless attack. Din Meiguj tried to warn her friend to run away from the dangerous place. But the president of the martial arts club was too weak. He was almost hurt. However, unexpectedly for everyone, Chan Xintian intervened in the battle and repelled the blow. The new member of the fight boldly declared that he was dealing with Bao Fu, so he persistently asked to leave him alone. Chuan Vu rudely asked what the boy thought of himself for daring to incur his wrath and ordered him to fail. Their arms were still outstretched, and the place where their fists collided was seething with energy. But in a second, seeing that his words had no effect, Chazan Chintian pushed the opponent away, knocking him to the ground. His mech drove over solid ground. Chuan Vu managed to keep his composure and rise quickly. Rage filled his entire insides. The boy once again found himself near an unexpected enemy and brought his fist down, calling Chazan Chintian a wild child for daring to attack him without realizing the consequences. His opponent preempted the blow, summoning a layer of violent energy around him, causing the mech club member to fly away again in the same way. Someone from the audience suggested that he belonged to the school's martial arts organization. But he was told that this could not happen because there are only 2 members in it. The most astute one recognized him as the guy who was dumped by the popular girl Chezhan Xiaoran. But it was difficult to compare that loser and this skilled fighter, so the schoolboy doubted his observation. Chuan Vu still didn't give up. Got up again. His mech radiated a tickling, menacing energy. The guy pressed somewhere and a rocket came out of his hand. Another young man came out of the crowd, firmly ordering the combatants to stop. Chuan Vu recognized him as Lin Haj, the vice president of his club. His words carried a lot of weight to the armored boy, so he broke off. The tough schoolboy who came up was unhappy that a member of his club risked getting their organization in trouble by almost using his mech's missile. Chuan Wu quickly began to explain why this had happened. The recklessly bold young man had trespassed on the honor of the mech club, so he intended to punish him so as not to sink their reputation into the mud. Lin Haj expressed the opinion that it is not necessary to use the latest technologies for this and asked the boy to remove them. The vice president of the mech club approached the culprit with a haughty look, perceiving him as another loser. I asked him his name in order to make sure of the public's guesses. After hearing the statement, Lin Haj revealed that he is dating Li Lili, who in turn is Chezhan Xiaoran's best friend. The girls in question magically appeared next to me at that very moment. They were trying to figure out what the vice president of the mech club was doing here. Chezhan Xiaoran then noticed her ex. For a second, her face took on a surprised look. In the next moment, she scornfully asked Chazan Chintian if he was causing trouble on the school grounds again. Li Lili clung to her boyfriend. She supported her friend's words, calling her ex an ordinary student without status and a decent background, looking for silly adventures on his own. Lin Haj turned to Chazan Chintian, giving him the opportunity to apologize right now to avoid the disgrace. The boy with a challenge in his eyes asked if they deserved his apology. Lin Haj activated his menacing mech. The devil's horns emphasized his desire to give the unfortunate a good rub. He menacingly declared that it was not accepted to joke with his club. The martial arts masters who started the conflict stood between Lin Haj and Chazan Chintian. Bao Fu said that they were the only ones to blame, so there was no point in attacking a boy who was almost just passing by. The vice president of the mech club did not take his words. He only said that the members of the martial arts club had better stay away so as not to get screwed too. They did not listen. Bao Fu waved his hands and provocatively declared with all possible confidence that the opponent could attack. He is not afraid of it, quite the opposite. Lin Haj did not need to be repeated twice. He jumped towards Bao Fu, swinging to strike. Despite his determination, the martial arts master was perfectly aware that his strength was not at all suitable for standing up to the fur-clad boy. Shan Chintian approached him from behind, holding out his hand and succinctly motioning for the boy to act. Bao Fu felt some new, unfamiliar energy that he had never experienced permeate his body. This was helped by the hand of an unexpected ally. The president of the martial arts club was not lost and took advantage of the power given by the miracle. His fist collided with his opponent's fist, and he declared that he also had something interesting to demonstrate. The power that the boy used was able to knock Lin Haj far away, greatly surpassing his mech in strength. The crowd was shocked. Mech did not seem to anyone to be a toy that could be so pushed away by natural effort alone. Bao Fu himself was not fully aware of what he was able to do. He carefully examined his hands, as if the explanation for this was written on them. Chazan Chintian watched with interest. The body of the shocked boy seemed extremely unique to him. The fight stopped. The martial arts masters discussed what had happened. Din Mejguj asked the boy if he was feeling well. He answered that yes. Baofu rejoiced at the amazing power within him. He jokingly assumed that he had acquired a supernatural ability or that his finger had turned gold. The girl was bored listening to these strange guesses, and in a few seconds, Din Mejguj was so irritated by the boasting of the president of the martial arts club that she hit him in the face, trying to land on the ground from the clouds with dreams. The girl told her partner that a new power appeared in the boy thanks to Chizhan Chintian, who inexplicably pushed her into him. Li Lili walked over to her downed boyfriend, worriedly asking if he was okay. Lin Haj slowly got up from his knees. Lightning pulsed around his mech. The old man replied that everything is fine with him. He believes that he lost only because he was careless and slightly underestimated his opponents. But their victory over him is only an illusion. Li Lili listened to him, then pointed a finger at the trio of their enemies and demanded her lover to pepper them at last. To inspire him, the girl bent seductively and promised to thank him later for his victory over these losers. Lin Haj used his jet engine and flew low above the ground. He was approaching Baofu, calling him names and warning that he would strike now. The president of the martial arts club was frightened and screamed, turning to Chizhan Chintian and begging for help. The young man was nearby and asked not to panic. He touched Baofu's back. The energy actively swirled in circular motions, producing the same effect as last time. Lin Haj punched the forced opponent's stomach with a mechanical fist, but his body did not miss the blow. The young man radiated a bright energy that did not allow him to be harmed. Moreover, his body formed a force wave on its own, which successfully knocked back the surprised attacker. This time, Lin Haj didn't fall to the ground, partially prepared for it given his past experience and using the armor that tightly wrapped around his feet. The old man stood on his feet, but he clearly could not explain to himself why this happened. Therefore, he loudly and angrily asked his opponent how this was possible. Li Lili stood by and also could not understand how her powerful boyfriend could lose, and also a master of classical martial arts. The girl approached Lin Haj, helping him stand up. Chizhan Xiaoran was also an observer of the shocking situation and still could not accept it. Deciding that the conflict would not continue for now, Chizhan Chintian suggested that her school friend get away from here. Chizhan Xiaoran looked at her ex-boyfriend and did not understand why he had changed so suddenly. He has changed both in character and in fighting skills. Despite everything, the girl promised herself that she would never regret leaving him. She convinced herself that Chizhan Chintian was of no value in the world without her. Baofu and Din Mejguj were catching up with their savior, asking them to stay for a moment. Chizhan Chintian and Anyunuo, of course, turned around to find out what the martial artists wanted to tell them. It turned out that, in addition to the usual words, they also bowed, expressing the utmost respect for the boy who became their hero today. Baofu expressed his sincere thanks for the help. Chizhan Chintian, however, did not appreciate this gesture much, covering his face with his hand in Spanish shame and asking the grateful young man where he had learned it. Baofu replied that they do that in TV dramas. He thanked them again, noting that without this intervention, the martial arts club that was so important to them would have been closed. Din Mejguj invited the young man to become a member of their school organization. She said that it would be a great honor for her and the president of the club. To the great regret of the masters of martial arts, the answer was a confident no. This did not satisfy them. They intended to try to persuade Chizhan Chintian. Baofu said he would make him president in his place. Din Mejguj focused the young man's attention on the fact that new students must choose a club. Therefore, if he still has to choose a certain organization, perhaps he will choose theirs. Chizhan Chintian asked Anyunuo if it was really so. He supposed that the martial artists might be lying because he could see how much they wanted him to join their club. His girlfriend confirmed that it was true. Parubok decided to agree to a persistent offer after all, but he said he had one request for Baofu. He did not mind at all. On the contrary, the boy was glad for one more opportunity to pay back for his help. Jian Qintian and An Yunuo were strolling through the evening city. The girl said that it was already time for her to go back to the hostel because the hour was quite late. It reminded the boy that he should visit there too. After his rebirth, he had never been to a dormitory. An Yunuo was embarrassed, her cheeks reddened, but she still shared that she was very happy to spend part of the day together. Not daring to wait for an answer from the boy, the girl quickly ran away from him. Chezan Qintian recalled how his friend had once been a victim of an accident, as a result of which she needed a long period of treatment. The guy regretted that he could not help her in any way then because there was a black streak in his life. It was at this time that he was treacherously framed by Hu Tianhua, but now he swore to himself that he would take care of An Yunuo and ensure her a happy life. Chezan Qintian came to his dormitory. It was strange after so many years among the Celestials to return to the place where he once lived. He wondered if everything remained as it was. At the door of his room, the young man was met by a student with a basin for washing who was glad to see him. This guy's name was Jian Yunkaj. He was Jian Qintian's best friend. Although the young man was distinguished by timidity, he always tried his best to help him in a difficult period of his life. He dragged his friend into the room, simultaneously asking why he had not appeared in the dormitory for so long. The shy young man heard that he had broken up with Chezan Xiaoran again, and Hu Tianhua was angry with him. The student's arguments and reasoning were stopped by a sneaker that suddenly flew into his face. It belonged to their flatmate, Fen Ge, who was lying in bed. This guy was annoyed because he was being disturbed to sleep, so he threw his shoes at Jian Yunkaj. The guilty young man apologized, somewhat nervous, and promised to speak more quietly. Jia's sleepy state seems to have been interrupted after all. He sat down on the bed and asked Jian Yunkaj to return the sneaker to him. He looked extremely frightened and immediately agreed, intending to pick up the shoes from the floor. But Chezan Qintian quickly grabbed his friend's elbow and firmly ordered him not to do so. Still holding the Jian Yunkaj, the boy appealed to the roommate with a claim that he should not demand that someone pick up what Fen Ge himself threw on the floor. The young man sitting on the bed was only irritated by these words. He asked to deal with the sneakers as soon as possible because he wants to go to the toilet. Jian Yunkaj nevertheless reached down to pick up the thrown shoes, explaining to his friend that they live in the same room, so they should help each other, and there is nothing wrong with that. After that, he walked up to Fen Ge and handed him a sneaker with a friendly smile. Such a service was not enough for the blonde. He mockingly held out his foot, categorically asking to put on his shoes. Even Chezan Yunkaj found it inappropriate. He looked doubtfully at Fen Ge's foot. The roommate made a face because of this reaction of the young man in glasses. The refusal did not suit him at all. Fen Ge poked his roommate with his index finger, warning him that he was delaying his trip to the bathroom. Because of this, the boy's face risks being splashed with his urine. Chezan Yunkaj was quite uncertain and said that he could help in some way, but this situation does not seem to him to be one where help is really necessary. Fen Ge glared at the young man for daring to refuse him. He said that such an answer shows that he has stopped respecting him. Chezan Qintian stood between the neighbors because he could no longer watch the abuse being inflicted on his best friend. Fen Ge was not confused by the sudden intervention. He knew what topic could affect a young man who was not indifferent to his affairs, so he reminded him about how he had recently been dumped by his girlfriend. Certain that this was going to happen, the blonde stretched both feet out in different directions, having each housemate wear a pair of sneakers until he got really mad at them. Perhaps in another life, Chezan Qintian would have been afraid of him. But now, with a wealth of experience and inner core, there was no way he could allow someone to make fun of him and his friend like that. That is why he grabbed Chezan Yunkaj's sneaker and smeared it on Fen Ge's face. The blonde rubbed his cheek and looked at Chezan Qintian in shock. He had not yet met the boy after the reincarnation and had not heard of his sudden changes, so for him, such an act was quite strange. If you have watched this far, I am very grateful to you. I hope you enjoyed this video because I put a lot of effort into creating it. I would be very grateful if you like this video and subscribe to the channel.